Ever had Sweden pop up in your daydreams with its meatballs, IKEA mazes, and magical northern lights? Well, buckle up, my friend. In the next 10 minutes, I'll spill the beans on all things Swedish. And stick around till the end to find out why Sweden might also be the land of no physical contact. Curious? Let's dive in. 1. Cool freedom. So, Sweden has this awesome thing called the freedom to roam. It's kind of like you and me just deciding to take a walk, set up camp, or even pick some berries in any open space we find. And it doesn't even matter if it's someone else's land. As long as it's not a cultivated or fenced area, it's all fair game. Imagine that! I think it's super cool and adds a whole new dimension to exploring nature. 2. Earth-loving habits. Oh, and speaking of nature, have you heard about how they're seriously onto something with their green initiatives? I was blown away when I discovered they recycle almost 100% of their household waste. Can you believe that? And get this, more than half of the electricity they use comes from renewable sources. Over half their energy? Yep, all from renewable sources. And get this, for the past 10 years, they've been rocking the top spots on that environmental leaderboard by Yale and Columbia. Clean water, fresh air, and loads of respect for Mother Earth. They're not stopping there either. They've set their sights on kicking fossil fuels to the curb by 2045. 3. Underground art gallery. Guess where the world's longest art exhibition is? It's their metro stations of Stockholm. I kid you not. When you hop on a train in Stockholm, you're practically entering an art gallery. Out of their 100 stations, more than 90 are dressed up with incredible artworks like paintings, mosaics, and even some quirky installations. And on top of that, it's over 110 kilometers long. 4. A watery wonderland. Sweden is like a dream spot for anyone who loves water. They have over 90,000 lakes. On top of that, there are about 24,000 islands. The Stockholm archipelago is the largest in Sweden, but it's also the second largest in the Baltic Sea. If I were there, I'd probably just spend my time hopping from one island to another. By the way, if you're ever making a list, Gotland, Åland, Sandhamn, and Koster are some of the top spots. And let's not forget the stunning lakes like Vänern and Vättern. Seriously, I'm packing my bags in my head already. 5. A dive into Swedish culture. Okay, I just have to gush about the richness of Sweden's cultural heritage. First, there are the Sami people. They're like the original inhabitants of northern Scandinavia and have got their own unique language, culture, and traditions. Then, of course, there were the Vikings, those legendary seafaring adventurers who were a big deal between the 8th and 11th centuries. And you must have heard about the Nobel Prize, right? You know, the ultimate recognition in science, literature, and peace? Yes, that's a Swedish gem too, thanks to inventor Alfred Nobel. Lastly, if you ever get the chance, you have to experience the Midsummer Festival. It's their celebration of the longest day of the year. Think dancing, some traditional herring and potatoes, and everyone wearing lovely flower crowns. 6. Swedish design. It's everywhere. You know, every time I put on my favorite playlist on Spotify or assemble an IKEA shelf, I'm reminded of Sweden's genius. They're seriously killing it in the design department. Whether it's fashion with brands like H&M or cars like Volvo, they have this knack for making things that are sleek, functional, and downright beautiful. It's like they've cracked the code on blending simplicity with elegance. I mean, even Skype. Remember all our late-night video calls? Yeah, that's Swedish too. 7. Mother Nature's grand show. I've been dreaming about a trip to Sweden lately, and you want to know why? Those once-in-a-lifetime natural spectacles. Can you imagine seeing the northern lights dancing in the sky? Gives me chills just thinking about it. Depending on when and where you are in Sweden, there's this thing called the midnight sun, where it doesn't get dark, like at all. Crazy, right? Then there's the polar night, the exact opposite, where the sun plays hide and seek and doesn't rise. And to top it all off, there's an actual hotel made of ice and snow. If that doesn't scream adventure, I don't know what does. 8. The coolest hotel. Let's talk more about Sweden's hotel made entirely out of ice and snow. It's called the Ice Hotel, and it's in the northern village Jukkasjärvi. Every year, they rebuild it using natural ice from the Torn River. The whole vibe? Ethereal. From rooms and suites carved out of ice to dazzling ice sculptures. They even have an ice bar where you can sip on icy cocktails. And here's the showstopper, an ice church. Can you even think about getting married there? It's all so magical and frosty, but in a good way. 9. Fika. More than just coffee time. Oh, before I forget, have I told you about fika? No, it's not some fancy dance move. It's this cozy Swedish coffee tradition. It's all about taking a moment from your busy day, grabbing your favorite coffee, pairing it with a yummy sweet treat, and just chilling with pals or coworkers. It's not just a coffee break. It's like this little ritual that celebrates relaxation and good vibes. Makes you realize how some simple things can sprinkle a little happiness in our day. 10. Sweden's pop music magic. Also, have you ever noticed how many of our favorite bops have some Swedish touch to them? It's wild. Sweden gives us some of the coolest music legends like ABBA, Roxette, Ace of Base, and even more recent stars like Avicii and Zara Larsson. And guess what? Some of the biggest international hits like Britney's Baby One More Time and Ed Sheeran's Shape of You have Swedish masterminds behind them. 11. An entire museum for ABBA. And ABBA reminds me of something insane about Sweden. They have a whole museum dedicated to them, appropriately called ABBA the Museum. It's like walking into a pop music time capsule. They have everything, from their flashy costumes and instruments to some super cool memorabilia. And the fun part? You can belt out their songs, dance like a pop star on a holographic stage, and get that Insta-worthy pic with life-size statues of the band. I'm so down for a duet next time we go. 12. Gelv's infamous straw goat. Now wait till you hear about this quirky Swedish tradition. There's a town in Sweden, Gävle, right? Every Christmas, they have this fun and slightly wild tradition of setting up a massive straw goat in their town square. It's been a thing since 1966, but here's the twist. Some sneaky folks try their hardest to vandalize it every year. I kid you not, this goat has seen it all. It's been set on fire 29 times, hit by cars, and someone even had the audacity to kidnap it. 13. The delight of surströmming. Oh, speaking of unique Swedish things, have you ever dared to try surströmming? If you haven't, brace yourself. It's this fermented herring dish from northern Sweden, and let's just say it's an acquired taste and smell. They catch the herring in spring, salt it, and then let it ferment in barrels for what seems like forever. And yeah, you guessed it, it smells strong, like super strong. But the brave souls who love it usually enjoy it outside and pair it with bread, potatoes, onions, and sour cream. I'd say it's worth a try, just for the experience. 14. Walpurgis Night. Now, if you thought those two were wild, wait till you hear about Walpurgis Night. On April 30th, Swedes throw on their best witch outfits and light up bonfires. It's like their way of bidding adieu to winter and rolling out the red carpet for spring. The lore behind it is even cooler. They believe that on this night, witches fly off to this mountain, Blekula, to hang out with the devil. So to keep any mischievous spirits at bay, people wear their costumes, make a lot of noise, and set the night ablaze. Kind of makes our spring cleaning sound boring in comparison. 15. Sweden's peaceful diplomacy. You know, I was reading up on Sweden's history, and it kind of blew my mind. Despite being this military giant in the 17th century and churning out weapons like nobody's business, they've kept out wars for nearly 200 years. Yep, even the big ones like the World Wars. Now, when it comes to understanding Sweden's political landscape, trust me, it had me scratching my head a bit. They have a whopping network of around 79 embassies and 7 big consulates. Not to mention all these cultural hubs, honorary consulates, and trade missions. They're everywhere. Oh, and here's a tidbit I found fascinating. They were the first ones from the West to set up an embassy in Pyongyang. Their whole foreign policy vibe is about staying neutral and free from entangling alliances, even if wars pop up. 16. Crayfish celebrations in Sweden. Shifting gears a bit, let's talk about food. I bet when you think of Sweden, seafood pops into your mind, doesn't it? They're surrounded by water, after all. From herring to salmon, they love it all. But let me tell you about this one party they throw just for crayfish. During summer, they have these crayfish parties. It started because, after a chilly winter, they'd find an overload of crayfish in their nets. So why not throw a party? Now, if you ever get invited to one, you need to prepare yourself. Besides indulging in those little crustaceans, they love having a drink, or a few. It's all in good fun, celebrating the bounties of nature. How cool would it be to crash one of those parties? Just remember to bring a bib. 17. Personal Space 101. Now, let's finally talk about why Swedes seem a bit distant. You know, in the big cities, if you just met someone, they might keep a bit of distance or seem reserved. But trust me, it's not you. They really value personal space, kind of like a respect bubble. They think it's polite to give others room to breathe. Same goes for small talk. You won't find many starting up a chat with the cashier or diving deep into personal stories at a first meeting. It's just their way, you know? Keeping things private until they really get to know someone. Isn't Sweden fascinating? What did you like the most about it? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you liked this video, do us a solid and smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe so you'll be the first to know about upcoming content. And buckle up, folks, because there's a lot we have in store for you.